All right, we've been waiting for it. In her first official interview since becoming the Democrat presidential nominee, Kamala Harris promising a new way forward despite her role as vice president for the last 3.5 years.
And Harris is facing some criticism over having running mate Tim Walz by her side. But her campaign insists she will do a solo interview.
So the vice president defending her policy flip-flops on issues like the climate and the border while struggling to lay out her day one agenda.
First and foremost, one of my highest priorities is to do what we can to support and strengthen the middle class. When I look at the aspirations, the goals, the ambitions of the American people, I think that people are ready for a new way forward. Day one, it's going to be about, one, implementing my plan for what I call an opportunity economy. I've already laid out a number of proposals in that regard, which include what we're going to do to bring down the cost of everyday goods, what we're going to do to invest in America's small businesses, what we're going to do to invest in families. I made that clear on the debate stage in 20.
That may literally be true. Gremlin was talking to a journalist this morning that was talking about how some of the laws that around propaganda that came up after World War II, journalists providing cover for war crimes may be liable under those laws. Yeah, except the United States of America is not going to stop being the superpower, okay? Nazis lost World War II. That's why some of the journalists that carried water for their genocide and their crimes were, prosecuted for propaganda. Ufak kapta harissa ve şey cacık var.
That I would not ban fracking. As vice president, I did not ban fracking. As president, I will not ban fracking. I believe it is very important that we take seriously what we must do to guard against what is a clear crisis in terms of the climate. I think the most important and most significant aspect of my policy perspective and decisions is my values have not changed. My value around what we need to do to secure our border, that value has not changed. I spent 2 terms as the Attorney General of California prosecuting transnational criminal organizations, violations of American laws regarding the illegal passage of guns, drugs, and human beings across our border. My values have not changed. So that is the reality of it.
A layup. I mean, this is the question every politician gets.
Sure.
What are you going to do on day one? And I mean, I'm not just talking about the presidency. They have Senate candidates, congressional. What do you do on day one?
Right.
What she gave us was a dream.
Right.
Like, as if she had control of Congress. They had a bill ready for her on day one. Not what she plans on doing from a ceremonial standpoint, those bills that they're going to sign once she's sworn in. And it just shows you when it comes to preparation. She's not prepared for even what she's going to do on day one. How can we trust a 4-year administration?
Yeah, Donald Trump was asked that question, and he had very clear answers of the executive orders that he would sign
Said it many
if he
times.
did that. And she also did not do a good job when Dana Bash went back and asked her and said, well, a lot of people will say, why haven't...
One issue I face a lot when talking about social issues that people should respond, to focus, individual accountability. Do you think is a generational difference that'll solve itself? I don't know how to answer this question.
You've done this already. You are the vice president. She didn't have a lot to say there. She also flip-flopped, you guys, on a very important topic and for a very important state called Pennsylvania. So here she is talking about fracking.
What she said, these are some of the things that we would refer to as flip-flops, but last night she referred to them as, you know what? I still have the same values. For instance, in 2019, and we played a moment ago, that soundbite when she was running in the primary, she endorsed a nationwide ban on oil and gas fracking. We know that. Now the campaign has come out and said she does not support a total ban on fracking. And then when it comes to the border, in 2019, when asked which candidates believe crossing the border without documentation should be a civil offense, Kamala Harris raised her hand. However, today, Kamala Harris's campaign, now that she's running for president, says quite simply, unauthorized border crossings are illegal. Essentially, with those two topics right there, I think we saw a preview of the presidential debate when it comes to fracking and when it comes to the border, because she was unequivocal last night. She said, as president, I will not ban fracking. And she talked a little bit about the Inflation Reduction Act, which she broke the tie in the Senate, actually expanded fracking leases. And then when it comes to the topic of the border, we've heard this a million times. She talked about how she, as president, would sign the bipartisan border bill once it got through the House and the Senate. And she told the story about how the former president saw that it would probably help Joe Biden and said, hey, guys, on the Republican side, let's not pass that.
Well,
Yeah,
the
but
problem,
if you dig into that bill, that bill is really about more money going to NGOs to make the processing of more illegals over the border quicker, so the press isn't seeing everything that's happening.
And the cap with the crossing is a fake cap. It's still catch and release as well. But back to the fracking thing, she doesn't explain the change of position. So, Madam Vice President, you cast that vote. Why did you do that? Is it just because you were vice president and you were carrying out what the commander-in-chief, Joe Biden, says? But, Madam President, Vice President, you're going to be in the chair, or at least you hope to be in the chair. So do you go back to your original position in 2019? That follow-up is critical because it's a difference when you're the vice president and you have to work, or a cabinet member, and you work within the system. Your job is to serve at the pleasure of the president. And it looks like that her positions, her gut instinct is to be much more progressive.
Yeah, no question. Well, you had Lara Trump on.
Oh my God, Brian is gone. Oh my God, Brian killed me. Oh my God. Did he do it? He did it.
On earlier in the show, and you got her reaction, so here that is.
The mad lad.
It feels like Kamala Harris is running for junior class president versus president of the United States. You got no specifics whatsoever. And there was not a moment that I watched that interview and I, as an American citizen, felt confident that this is a person who understands the job of president of the United States, has a true plan of action to do anything for America, could negotiate with the world leaders on behalf of me as a citizen and this country. And I think it's kind of what we've come to expect from Kamala Harris.
Junior class president. Maybe that's why she was that.
Oh my God. Bro, I swear to God, she sounds like Cinna. Cinna sounds like Laura Trump. Close your eyes and listen.
Could negotiate with the world leaders on behalf of me as a citizen and this country. And I think it's kind of what we've come to expect from Kamala Harris.
Oh my God, bro, Cinna sounds like Laura Trump. Okay, I rest my case. I rest my case, dude. I stand corrected. When I said what I said.
Down to him, you mean?
Yeah.
Well, I
like
think
they were kindergartners.
You got to figure they went to a school because he was a teacher and he was a coach and all that stuff. I will say this about Tim Walz. He's really good at smiling and nodding. Because we thought, if she got into a word salad problem, he would jump in.
Well, he couldn't.
As it turns out, last night,
I stand correct, not corrected. You're right.
he was only when Kamala Harris was asked that, and Lawrence, I think you referred to it as a layup question. What are you going to do on day one? Dana Bash asked that question. We've asked that question. She asked it. Kamala Harris did not answer it, and so Dana asked her again. You didn't answer my question. What would you say? Listen, you only got like 20 minutes. You're not going to waste a lot of time. So she turned to Tim Walz and asked him, what are you going to do on the first day?
She should have stayed.
He didn't really answer.
She should have stayed with Kamala. Yeah. And you know what you see here too, you guys have seen those hearings in Congress where the witness just needs to fill up the time for the 5 minutes.
It's crazy that this was probably the most right-wing framed interview that CNN could possibly give without being like, Kamala Harris, why are you lying that you're black, you're Indian? The only thing that Dana Bash could have done that's more right-wing than what she did was to literally just be like, Kamala Harris, why are you lying to the American public that you're a black woman? We all know you're Indian. You know what I mean? And these motherfuckers still make it seem like it's a softball. Dave Weigel, I think, had a great take here. First day question is for executive orders, and it's really awkward for a VP to get asked that because the president could literally do the EOs she wanted. So he thought it was a dumb question. No, I don't think it's a dumb question. She should be popping off on that front. Be like, I'm not Biden, you know? I don't have a problem with her separating herself from Biden. That is actually why she has so much momentum. She is not Biden.
Monologue.
That's what I felt like was happening. She was talking slowly. She was using as many words as possible. But it was intentional to fill up the time because she knew this was only going to be a 20-some minute interview.
And also to that point, Rachel, Walz, the governor, he couldn't save himself. I mean, there was a moment there where he had to explain while he went out publicly and talked about his military service and the IVF and all that, and to just say it's grammatical errors.
Yeah.
I mean,
well, he was able to work in the fact his wife's an English teacher.
That's what I didn't find it cute. I really did not. It was you had how many days to come up with an explanation to why you lied to the American people and you let down a lot of troops. People will.
This is so funny. Like, if this is something that he says all the time, you would have more than one clip, chimp. Like, I know exactly what this is because it happens to me all the fucking time. More frequently than you see the top of the hour ad break. Like, people will regularly clip me out of context in like one moment and then constantly fucking be like, see, this represents all of your world beliefs over and over and over again. And it's like, if that was a genuine thing that I said, if that was a only reading Twitter XD, I mean, that's one of them. But if that was the only thing that I always said, you would have more than one fucking clip. You know how absolutely fucked up you got to be for someone like Kim Jong-un to say some shit like this? North Korea says Israel's a murderous, bandit, genocidal, and barbaric state. 700,000 likes? Holy fuck. My goat.
Accept an apology, but he didn't provide that.
No.
Well, the campaign they were very risk averse. And what Dana Bash asked the questions we wanted answers to, but they just gave as innocuous an answer as they possibly could. But as I said earlier, I think it is, if I'm the Trump campaign, I just got a little view of how they're going to answer fracking and how they are going to answer the border. And we're going to talk to Senator J.D. Vance, who's running for vice president. Let's see, about 49 minutes from right now, right here on the Fox News channel. I'm Steve Doocy.
I'm Brian Kilmeade.
Whether you like it or not.
All right, it's time to talk about Trump.
Becoming a drug-infested nation. So we better get our act together. You know, years ago,
And after the Trump portion, we'll do this. We'll do the census. Okay.
centuries ago, China was taken over numerous times by smaller nations, much smaller nations, because they were all drugged out from the opium fields and all of that. And then one of their very powerful leaders said no more, and they ended it. And we're going to have to end it too, because we're really a country that is we're a failing nation in a lot of ways. What they've done to our country is incredible. What is Kamala, who's a total lightweight? Did you see her on television last night? This is going to be the president. This is going to be the president of our country? I don't think so. Sitting propped up in a desk with this guy, this Tampon Tim. And it's the first interview she's done in, like, nobody's ever seen anything like it. And if you're too weak to do a one-on-one interview with a person that was so soft, you know, I know Dana, she's always, you know, always nasty. She was so nice to the Democrats. It's much easier to be a Democrat, but we don't agree with their policies because their policies will destroy our nation. So we can't do that. We can't do that. But it was a very weak interview from the standpoint of CNN. I think CNN should be ashamed of themselves. If that were me, aren't they? Sir, I heard you want the death penalty for drug dealers. Why? Well, you know, I'd like to end the drug epidemic, if that's okay. Remember this, and I said it. Every drug dealer, on average, kills 500 people. That's not mentioning all of the families that are destroyed forever. They're destroyed forever. And we have to do something about it because we are becoming, and we are, a drug-infested nation. We have to do something. And if you did that meaningfully, you will, in 1 week, stop the drug problem. Nobody's going to be selling
assassinate the
drugs.
Sacklers.
Mr. President, crime and the rise of crime is on the minds of a lot of people. I want to call
And
on
then
Danielle
and then he did
here.
hold on. This is the town hall that he did. He did a town hall with Tulsi Gabbard, everyone's favorite Fox News commentator. Hey, Hasan, he agrees with you. Nobody gets drugs. Wait, what? My policy of like heavily regulating drugs and still making it as like still disincentivizing people to do drugs and hoping that like we do not criminally prosecute drug users and instead deal with the issue like it's an addiction, which it is not the same as Donald Trump saying we're going to assassinate drug dealers. By the way, before you say, I saw some people in the chat saying like, oh, Duterte, like this is Duterte policy. Trump has literally talked about it at the time as a popular policy of Duterte's that he wanted to apply. So the executing drug dealer shit is not new. Like he used to say that when Duterte was in charge and doing precisely that.
Who has a question for you?
Hi, Daniel. Well, you need, and you get a lot of those questions from Minnesota, but you get a lot of those questions because Minnesota, I mean, they picked this guy. He is weird. Right? He's weird. I'm not weird. He's weird. No, he's a weird guy. He's a weird dude. You know, see, they come up with sound bites. They always have sound bites. And one of the things is that JD and I are weird. That guy is so straight. JD is he's doing a great job. Smart. Top
So
student.
straight.
Great guy, and he's not weird, and I'm not weird. I mean, we're a lot of things. We're not weird, I will tell you. But that guy is weird, don't you think? You know, he signed for, and this is, who would think that this is even happening in our country with men playing in women's sports and all of this? But he has it at a level that nobody can believe. A bill that every boy's bathroom will have tampons, okay? Hence his name, Tampon Tim. But think of it.
There's something so funny about just genuinely not understanding where this like these guys are weird narrative comes from and failing to understand it failing to understand it so hard that you immediately contribute to the this guy is weird narrative. And before you say, well, the crowd seems to be eating it up. Exactly, dude. He is so tuned into his base. That is the major problem with the Trump campaign as it stands currently. Okay? He's primed his base, and the more he leans into his base, the more he does this like crank shit. the less appealing he is to anyone who would ever look at, like, who are like-minded, ideologically conservative, like-minded individuals who would look at him in a positive way.
Think of it. And you know, on the question of abortion, he is the one, abortion in the 9th month. And if the baby in Minnesota, and I'd love to win Minnesota because those people aren't digging this guy. They're not digging this guy. But think of this. 6 states, Minnesota's one of them. If the baby is born, you're allowed to execute the baby after, think of that, after birth in Minnesota. You're allowed to execute. And you remember the former governor, not the current governor, who's...
Perhaps this is the reason why people say you're weird. Because you make shit up and then lean into that made up shit in the most graphic ways possible. And that kind of commentary is probably good for your immediate base of support because they are the fucking weirdos. But it literally does not translate to a national campaign. This is why they lost the supposed red wave at a time when they should have been fucking running the table. It's crazy. Like, yeah, sure, those are the fucking losers that are primed into loving you. But there are no, like, there are no laws in the books that allow what Trump is saying. And lying about this kind of stuff and then being, like, really invested in this kind of thing makes you look weird to the average person. Which, by the way, I am reminded that I forgot to run the 3-minute ad break at the top of the hour after I said I was going to do it. So I'm running it now, okay? I think I said I was going to serve it, and then I forgot. So I'm running it now.
Terrific.
There it is.
Glenn Youngkin.
Kaya,
we're going to win
please.
maybe with Virginia. We could do that. But the former governor, and he said, you sit the mother down and the father down, you sit them down and you talk, and the baby is born and you make a decision what to do. He meant, do you execute the baby after birth? And according to what they have passed and legislation, in Minnesota, they're allowed to execute the baby after birth. And this guy is a participant. And that's why she picked him, because she is, in fact,
I'm telling you, it's so funny. Trump went from they're drug dealers when referring to Mexicans. They're drug dealers, they're rapists, they're criminals, and some are very fine people, to straight up saying everyone that was born in the southern portion of the American borders is a rapist, criminal, and they're all doing it. He cut out the "and some are very fine people" part. So on that front, he escalated his rhetoric to become even more unhinged. And now on the abortion shit, he went from Democrats want to do 3rd trimester abortions to, like, they are advocating for post-birth abortions everywhere. Now, there's an issue. The issue is he's actively fucking priming up his base of support into becoming increasingly unhinged. Electorally speaking, this plays really poorly. Okay? It plays really poorly for his chances of winning the election. But there are still millions of Americans who now believe this shit. It's fucking terrifying. Terrifying for the prospect of America's future.
Marxist/communist. Remember, I'd say all the time, Our country will never be socialist, right? We will not have a socialist. Well, I was right. We skipped socialism. We went to communism.